Hello, dear sister and fellow Forerunner. As you know, this video was paid for because it is exclusive. It's only for those of us that have been on the path for a while or are at, a huge crossroads. Um, and those of us who are Forerunners are really sort of going through it right now. And the reason this is not information for everybody is because it might scare other people what we're going through. Like, what we're going to go through all this just to go through that. Um, and so many of us are going through big things right now. And I'll get into some details in a minute here. And while it seems like it is a really big deal and failure, even at some point, what's happening is a transition of worlds. So what's happening is exactly what we wanted, just a little messier than we thought. So I've heard from a lot of Forerunners lately, and I believe in my last video I alluded to the fact that I've been going through it. April was quite something. But things that some of us are experiences are what we call big deal land. One of my sisters said that to me, like, boy, you really are in big deal land. Yeah, we're going through big deal land. So what does that mean? Some of us are experiencing the loss of jobs. Either we're losing jobs or our partner is losing their jobs. Others of us are facing foreclosure or bankruptcy. Others are facing death of loved ones, mostly parents, and that sort of thing. And and the loss of big things, big things. So I know for me, I lost a friend of mine 2 years ago who was also a Forerunner, and that sort of shook me to my core. Like, so you mean the spiritual journey, the spiritual purity we're taking on doesn't protect us from shit? It doesn't protect us from the shit going on? So there's a sort of level of sobriety there, like, huh, so I'm not protected because I'm a Forerunner or that sort of thing. But we actually are. And not only are we protected, we are taking these seemingly bad things that are happening and infusing them with our own 5D template. So I'm going to use myself for example. And again, this is why this is paid information, because not everybody would be ready to hear this from me, about me, and not everybody would think it's inspirational. But it is. In my own life, I am facing foreclosure and bankruptcy. And we're told that that is like the pinnacle of failure. Like, you can't fail anymore if you're bankrupt or if you're facing foreclosure. And while the ego might take a little hit there, we've been working with our egos for so long now that we can just give the tiniest voice and say, oh, you poor thing. But we have the spiritual maturity and the wisdom to see the broader picture of this. And my broader picture of this is that we're actually being extrapolated, emancipated from a system that not only doesn't support us, but from a system we should no longer be supporting. And I was told all throughout April, this is when, we were dealing with all this stuff, that this was emancipation. That was the word that kept going through my head from my higher self. This is emancipation. And let me tell you why this is not a bad thing, but it's a freedom. My husband, again, this is not inspirational, but last June, my husband, while he was cycling with two of his friends, got hit by a truck. He hit that truck head on. Miraculously, he was okay, while his other friends were in the hospital and recovering for months and months, unable to walk, unable to cycle. My husband had a huge black eye and some stitches in his knee, but oh, well, if you read my book, then you see what happened there. is I chose the timeline where he was okay, and he was okay. From that accident, though, is an insurance settlement that is now coming into our materialization right now during this time. So what's happened is that even though we're facing foreclosure and bankruptcy, we are absolutely provided for. While my husband was physically okay, he's been going through some mental rewiring and he's been unable to do his job in the old way, which also is a forerunner type thing too. So it's like the accident is uh, bringing to light some of the same forerunner things of just not being able to do it the old way. Um, for me, it's been hard to separate, the symptoms from the accident from the symptoms of ascension, but it doesn't matter. You don't have to separate it out. It's all the same thing. But what I'm saying is this insurance settlement is coming forth just in time when we need it. And we have been able to pay all our bills. We just have been unable to pay this ridiculous mortgage. And the reason we're okay with it is because we've lived in this house for 10 years. We have paid the worth of this house and then some. We've paid all our bills, but now we don't have to pay the interest. Do you see what I'm saying? So the parasites aren't able to suck off us anymore. We've paid for the value of our home. We've paid for the value of our credit cards. But it's like the interest that's being absolved right now. So it's like the parasites are being taken off of us. It's an emancipation, and with this insurance settlement, we're able to reconfigure and see, well, where do we really want to go? We live in a beautiful house, but it's not our dream house. We'll have the luxury of living here rent-free for a year or two as we figure out where we want to go next. So while it seems like a failure, it's an extrapolation from the old parasitic system of 3D that can no longer suck off us. And instead, we're able to explore our own expressions now, free of the parasites. For my dear sister, whose husband just lost his job, it's the same sort of thing. He's being taken out of a system that not only truly supports his higher self, but a system that he should no longer be supporting as well, not letting it suck off of him. And this is not a new story. This is happening everywhere. It's happening everywhere. Hard times, because things are changing, things are breaking down. And even though I can see the higher picture of it, I'm shocked that, like, oh, really? I didn't think I'd have to go through this shit, you know? But it's really not, because you know what? We are provided for in each moment. We are now provided for no more, no less than we were going through this, systematic siphoning off. It's the same. And so, if you your spouse have lost a job, it's the system kicking you out because you're no longer vibrationally in alignment. And one of my fellow Forerunners' husband took a year off to find his way, and has been jumping from job to job since. It's not an easy time for us right now. It's not. But that doesn't mean that we're not being set up for the absolute highest possibility. It's just taking a little different route than perhaps we imagined. But as I was saying before, we have the spiritual maturity to deal with it now. And we have to sort of go in the system and go through the system to transform the system. Like, I really thought I would be protected from the system, but instead I'm having to go in it and go through it and get my vibration all through it to transform it. So we have to go in it. We can't rise above it. We have to go in it to change it and transform it. So that's what all the loss of jobs, foreclosure, and debts, it's being taken out of something that is no longer in vibrational alignment with us. something that has never really truly supported our highest version of ourselves, and something that we should no longer support. And the thing we have to get comfortable with right now is the not knowing. So we do have this spiritual maturity that we're okay and we're provided for, even if we don't know where it's coming from. We can handle this. We're masters for a reason. We can absolutely handle this. Is it our preference? Absolutely not. I want to jump past this and get to the good stuff. But there can be good stuff here too, which I'm going to get to in a minute. There can be good stuff. Let me just say right now, no matter what, our higher selves have got our back and we are provided for, no matter what. Now, the death part, that's a little trickier and a little heavier and a little more what the fuck. And mostly it is, you know, like the death of a parent, you know, that sort of thing. And yeah, it sucks that we're not prevented from death. As forerunners, and you know, I say this all the time, that death stops with the grandparents. This generation, we're going to stop the whole death gene. You know, it's not organic to our divinity. It's just not. But we still have to experience it because the generation before us, it's still embedded in them. They're still supposed to go through it. But what's happening right there with it when we experience the death of a parent at this point, it really is an end point of a lineage, an ancient lineage that is no longer viable. That doesn't sound very sympathetic, but I'll get to that part in a minute. I have a friend right now whose dad just died 2 days ago, and I mean, my feelings for her are so huge, but then I'm able to see her higher version of it as well. Another forerunner I know just lost her mother-in-law, and her higher version of it is amazing too, but it is sort of an end point of a generations and generations of old energy and old ideas. So the old energy will die. I will lose my parents. I can't even think about it. But just like taking our vibration into the system of the job loss, the bankruptcy, the foreclosure, we take our energy into the death as well, and we transform it a little bit. So when a forerunner loses someone they love, you know what they do? They change the separation between life and death. So one of my sisters who just lost her mother-in-law, she's already hearing from her. She also lost her mother in 2013. And the messages she gets from her mother and shares with us is just, it's just amazing. So there's a new paradigm where death doesn't actually separate you. I mean, of course, it's not as comforting as having him right there next to us, but we have the gift, we have the ability, we have the spiritual maturity, we have the wisdom to break through that veil that actually separates life and death. And this is what we're doing with pre-birth communication. So we're piercing through that veil, and we pierce through it here so we can communicate with the ones that are moving on, and we show others how we can do that. And they have messages for us and that sort of thing. So we're changing that. Is it heavy? It's fucking heavy. Like, yeah, it's fucking heavy. But this is what we signed up to do. And we're fucking warriors, so we can do it. Just know we're provided for, and there's opportunities for new experiences and whatever challenging avenue we're seeing or we're facing. And now I'm going to share some sources with you. Trying to figure out how I can rate these. You know what? I'm going to make an email. So I'm going to tell you them. But if you want an email about them, email me. Okay? And I will send you the list of resources because this is a paid video, I can't link it in the post. And again, this is just for the forerunners. So the sources that have been really helping me, if you're finding yourself in a void and you're having no sense of inner wisdom whatsoever, I just watched a video recently by a guy named Andrew Martin. So if you look him up on YouTube, he's on YouTube. I've watched a couple of his videos. He's good. I really like his energy. This one is about the void. I can't remember what the whole thing is called, but if you look up Andrew Martin and void in YouTube, really good one. It really helps you understand more of this whole spiritual journey, the ups and downs, the ins and outs. I can't actually remember what it says, but I know it really helped me the last time I was in the void, just to remind myself of what the fuck this is all about. I just like how he put it. So Andrew Martin, The Void, look that up in YouTube. Um, Another one that I've been loving lately, I started, reading Cryon's books. Is it Cryon? Yeah, Cryon. Um, Years and years ago when I first started my spiritual journey. It was so exciting. Well, it's even more relevant now. I took a few years off from him, but now I'm listening to some of the channelings on the video. So there's a channel I like called Modern Galaxy that has a whole bunch of Cryon videos. Listen to the ones about innate. That's telling us all about our biology, and it's really exciting. It's really exciting. It's reminding us of what we came here to do and how our body is changing. And it also talks about the new kids and how we don't have to die and all that shit, and how we're not going to age. It's reinforcement of what we're doing, so you just don't think it's all in your head and you think you're all crazy. So again, that's Modern Galaxy is the channel, and they got a whole bunch of Cryon, and there's ones about innate. Anything that says like DNA or healing, listen to that, and it talks about innate. There's at least 4 or 5. Okay, and this other one, this is a big one, a huge one. And I'm going to talk about this one a bit. The guy's name is Bentino Massaro. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I think he's some young Dutch dude. But I read his book called, oh God, you know what? Let me just look in my Kindle, because it's Super Accelerated Living. I think if you just look that up, yeah, it's Super Accelerated Living. If you just look that up, you'll find it. Am I leaving this on? But this one, you really need to be in the right time, the right mind frame for it. You have to be ready energetically for it. And if you are, then whoa. So I read his book in January. And it's funny because I knew my next step at that point, but I couldn't make myself do it. And what was my next step? My next step was to take all this self-love I had, take all my love, and pour it into every cell, nook, and cranny, every thought, every meal, every person, every animal, every tree, just pour it in. But it's so much effort to do that, I'm like, yeah, I know that's what I have to do. But reading his book, Super Accelerated Living, made me excited to do it. And as soon as I started doing that, sisters, holy shit, did life get really exciting. It doesn't take long to notice the result of changing your perspective. And his book really helped you change your perspective from living in the outside world, where you have to take care of physical things, take care of the job and the money and the body and all the things out there. His book really helps you take you out of the outside world and bring you within your heart center, which is actually where you create. It really is an immersal. I can feel a huge palpable difference when I'm meddling in the outside world and trying to fix it from out there than when I'm in here, in my heart center, creating from what I think he calls your holodeck, like on Star Trek. It's a hologram. And how you change it is with your vibration and your intention and your desire and your self-love. And he just makes it a little bit more tangible. So when you can take yourself out of the physical world and trying to change things there and really bring yourself right here and use your vibration and your intentions and your desires and your pleasures and what you want to experience, when you're tending to your vibration only, it's like getting a whole new palette of colors to paint your canvas with. So like out here, when we're in the physical world, we're handed this pretty crappy box of crayons from the outside world, Most of them are dull and colorless, with maybe a few bright ones here and there. Um, and it's just not a very pretty picture with what we can create with the outside physical crayons. But when you come in here into your heart center, you have a whole new box of crayons with all these amazing new wonderful colors. Um, and life will actually start being magical. I cannot tell you how many magical things I experienced from the end of January until the beginning of April. That was this huge magical time. Wild creativity, um, shared visions. My son and I don't know if I talked about this in a video, but my son and I looked outside. He said he was looked out the window and he said, "Mama, you see that blue? What is that blue thing in the tree?" And we looked out and we both saw this blue orb. We could both see it. And we're giggling and we're talking to it. And I mean, other magical things like happen too. Like I would say something would happen from this vibration and it would happen. I laughed so much because my desires were popping up here and there, popping up here and there. Like amazing difference living here in your holodeck. From April 1st, for whatever reason, because we had to go through the foreclosure and bankruptcy procedures, I was shut off from my holodeck. I wasn't supposed to meddle in it. Every time I tried to create from there, I was like, no, you're not supposed to do that right now. You're supposed to go through this in a state of non-resistance. And so I had that understanding, okay, I have to just let this happen. And then it was made clear to me this week, okay, your vacation from tending to your vibration is over, and now it's time for you to get back in your holodeck. And so I was rereading some of the excerpts from his book, and it really just gets you right there. And you can, as soon as you tend to your vibration and impose your preferences on everything, things start to change right there. If I was going to recommend any, well, actually, I recommend all the resources I just said, but this one really, if you're in need of reinforcement and fortification, this book, if you're in the right mindset and the right energy, will help you get there. It really will. So, Bentino Massara, Super Accelerated Living. And again, if you want an email of these, I will try and search them all out and send you an email. katestreet@comcast.net. So, Forerunners, I know we're going through it, but we have the spiritual maturity to deal with it, and we have the tools we need to paint a different picture now. So, any hardship we're going through, it's an extrapolation, it's an extraction, it's an emancipation. It really is, even if it doesn't feel like that. But we got this, and things will turn around again, and it's all up to us right here. It doesn't have to do with a timeline out there. It has to do with right here, and we have it within us. Really, look up Bentino Massaro, Super Accelerated Living. It could change you in an instant. It really could. If you're in need of reinforcement, seek it out. I swear, really. It's for us Forerunners. And he even says, this is not for everyone. You have to have reached a level of purity. And if we have done anything, we've purified ourselves. I hope to do another video soon where we talk of all the wonderful, amazing things that are happening besides just the deconstruction of the old. But it has to happen. We have to clean out the closet before we put everything back in proper order. All right, and we got this. I'm with you. I love you.